Midnight oil burned low in the Kensington flat, its soft glow painting the living room in shades of amber and shadow. Rain whispered against the bay window, tracing silver threads down the glass. Emily sat rigid on the velvet sofa, her 20-year-old frame dwarfed by the room's elegant clutter, bookshelves overflowing with dog-eared paperbacks, a half-finished jigsaw puzzle on the coffee table, a framed photo of her late grandfather grinning beside a fishing boat in Cornwall. She still wore the lavender cotton frock she'd donned that morning, simple, sleeveless, the hem slightly frayed at the knee from hours of pacing university corridors. It smelled faintly of jasmine perfume and something sharper beneath, something her mother had just unearthed. Clara Hartley stood by the fireplace, the storm outside mirrored in her stillness. At 52, she carried herself with the quiet authority of a woman who'd raised 2 children alone after her husband's passing. Her silver-streaked dark hair was pulled into a neat bun, her navy cashmere cardigan draped over tailored trousers. In her hand, she held a crumpled pack of Marlboro Reds the evidence. Not tossed carelessly, but hidden in the inner pocket of Emily's woven tote bag, wrapped in a tissue like a shameful secret. The silence wasn't empty. It was thick with everything unsaid, the promise Emily had made after Grandad's funeral, the trust eroded, the years of Clara working double shifts at the NHS clinic to give her daughter opportunities she'd never had. Emily couldn't meet her mother's eyes. She traced the embroidered daisies on her frock's hem, her throat tight. The grandfather clock in the hall chimed twice 2 in the morning, each bong echoing like a verdict. "You knew I'd find it eventually," Clara said finally, her voice low but cutting through the quiet like a scalpel. No anger. Just disappointment, cold and precise. "After what happened to your grandfather. After you promised." She set the cigarettes down on the mantelpiece beside his photo. The gesture was deliberate. A reminder. "This isn't about rules, Emily. It's about trust." Emily's fingers twisted in her lap. "I only had one, Mum. Just to cope with exams." Liar, the word landed softly, but it stung harder than a shout. Clara's gaze locked onto hers. "You smell of smoke. Your hair, your hands. You've been hiding this for weeks, haven't you? Since finals started." She took a slow breath, the lines around her eyes deepening. "Go to your room. We'll talk properly when you're ready to stop hiding." Emily didn't move. The rain intensified, drumming against the windowpane. Somewhere in the flat, a radiator hissed. The lavender fabric of her dress felt thin suddenly, too thin for the weight of what was coming. 3 weeks earlier, Emily had stood in the shadow of King's College London's Gothic arches, watching her peers light cigarettes between lectures. The stress of her psychology finals had coiled in her chest like a spring. She'd quit after Grandad's copped diagnosis last winter, his wheezing breaths, the oxygen tank by his armchair, the way he'd gripped her hand and whispered, "Don't let this poison steal your years, love." But when Ben from her study group offered her a cigarette behind the library, the ritual felt like an anchor, the strike of the match, the burn in her lungs, the fleeting warmth in her veins. "Just one," she told herself. "Just to steady my hands." She'd hidden the pack meticulously, first in her sock drawer, then beneath textbooks, finally in the secret inner pocket of her favorite tote bag. Clara had noticed the smell after Emily's first late-night study session. At dinner that night, steam rising from bowls of cottage pie, Clara had paused mid-bite. "You've been smoking again," she'd stated, not asked. Emily had pushed peas around her plate. "No, Mum. Must be the tube. Smells like smoke everywhere." Clara had simply nodded, her expression unreadable, and changed the subject to Emily's younger brother Leo's football match. But mothers remember. Clara remembered Emily at 8, hiding stolen biscuits in her pajama pockets. She remembered the way Emily's eyes darted left when she lied. So she waited. Patient. Watching. That afternoon, while tidying Emily's room, a habit from years of single parenting, Clara found the empty tissue wrapper tucked under the bed. Later, returning Pride and Prejudice to Emily's bag after borrowing it, her fingers brushed against something crisp and rectangular. The cigarettes. Her heart had clenched, a physical ache. She'd sat at the kitchen table for an hour, staring at the pack, remembering her father's coffin being lowered into the rain-slicked earth. She'd chosen midnight deliberately. Leo was asleep down the hall. The world outside was hushed. No neighbors to overhear. Just the truth, laid bare in the quiet dark. Clara guided Emily to the worn armchair by the fireplace, the same chair where she'd read The Tiger Who Came to Tea to her daughters on stormy nights. "Sit on my lap," she said, her voice steady. Emily froze. "Mum, I'm 20. Her cheeks flamed. This was childhood punishment, a relic from when she'd stolen jam from the pantry or skipped piano practice. "And you've acted like a child," Clara replied, patting her knee. Now the command broke no argument. Emily's throat tightened as she lowered herself sideways across Clara's lap. The lavender cotton stretched taut over her bottom, thin enough to feel the weave of Clara's wool trousers beneath. Rain streaked the window behind them. The only sounds were the crackle of the dying fire and Emily's shaky breath. Clara's hand landed thwack firm and deliberate on Emily's backside. Not cruel, but unyielding. The sting bloomed instantly through the cotton. "You broke your word," Clara said, her palm rising and falling in a slow, measured rhythm. Thwack. Thwack. "You promised Grandad." "You promised me," Emily gasped, fingers clutching the armrest. Tears blurred the bookshelves. Thwack. Thwack. "You hid it like a thief. Lied to my face at dinner." Clara's voice didn't rise, but each word carried the weight of betrayal. Thwack. "This isn't about stress, Emily. It's about respect." The spanking wasn't brutal, but it was relentless. Each smack landed squarely, the cotton frock offering no real barrier. Heat flooded Emily's skin, spreading from her backside up her spine. She bit her lip hard, but a sob escaped anyway. Shame crashed over her, not just for the smoke, but for making her mother do this. For reducing Clara to a disciplinarian when she'd spent 20 years being her protector. Thwack. Thwack. "You know better," Clara murmured, her own voice thick now. Thwack. Better than this. When it ended, Clara's hand stilled. Emily lay trembling, her face pressed into the velvet armrest, tears soaking into the fabric. Clara's arms wrapped around her, not to hold her down, but to hold her up star. Emily turned her head, burying it against Clara's cardigan. The wool smelled of lavender detergent and the faint, familiar scent of her mother's rose perfume. Clara helped Emily to her feet, smoothing the crumpled lavender frock with gentle hands. "Go to bed, sweetheart," she whispered, wiping a tear from Emily's cheek with her thumb. "We'll talk in the morning." Upstairs, Emily closed her bedroom door softly. Her room was a time capsule, A-level certificates on the wall, a faded poster of Edinburgh where she'd studied abroad, a terrarium Leo had made her for her 18th birthday. She sat on the edge of her narrow bed, wincing as her sore backside met the mattress. The sting was fading, replaced by a deeper ache. She walked to her desk. The half-empty pack of Marlboros sat where she'd left it that morning. She picked it up, the crinkling sound loud in the quiet room. Her fingers trembled as she tore the cardboard apart. Rip. The cigarettes spilled onto the desk like broken promises. She remembered Grandad's hands, gnarled and stained with nicotine, shaking as he lifted his teacup. She remembered Clara working night shifts at St. Thomas Hospital, coming home with shadows under her eyes, still making Emily's favorite lemon drizzle cake for her GCSE results day. "You broke your word." Emily gathered the cigarettes, her movements slow, deliberate. She carried them to the ensuite bathroom, dropped them into the toilet bowl, and flushed. The water swirled, dragging the white sticks down into darkness. She flushed again. And again. Until nothing remained but clean porcelain. She pressed her palms against the cool sink, staring at her reflection in the mirror. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her face pale. The lavender frock was rumpled, a tear near the hem where she'd caught it on a nail last week. That's me, she thought. Frayed. Hiding things. Breaking promises. She touched her backside lightly, still tender, and whispered to the empty room, I'm so sorry, Grandad. Dawn painted the London sky in watercolor streaks of peach and grey when Emily slipped into the kitchen. Clara was already there, filling the kettle at the sink. She wore a pale blue dressing gown over her nightdress, her hair loose around her shoulders, softer than the woman from last night. Emily didn't speak. She filled the kettle herself, measured Earl Grey into the pot, set out the milk jug. The ritual was familiar: 2 mugs, honey for Clara, sugar for Emily. Steam curled between them as they sat at the small kitchen table, sunlight catching dust motes in the air. Clara wrapped her hands around her mug. "Leo's football match is at 2, she said quietly. "If you're free." Emily nodded. "I'll be there." She stirred her tea, the spoon clinking against ceramic. "Mum, I threw them away." "The cigarettes." Clara's eyes met hers. No lecture. No interrogation. Just a slow, deep breath that seemed to release the tension of the night. "Good." Emily reached across the table. Her fingers brushed Clara's wrist, a small gesture. "I was scared. About exams. About everything after graduation. But that's no excuse. I should have talked to you." Clara turned her hand, lacing her fingers with Emily's. Her palm was warm, calloused from years of nursing. "You can always talk to me," she said. "Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard." Later, as Emily pulled on her coat to leave for campus, Clara stopped her at the door. She smoothed the collar of Emily's jacket, her touch lingering. "Your grandfather would be proud of you today," she murmured. Emily smiled, a real one this time. "I hope so." As she walked down the garden path, she glanced back. Clara stood silhouetted in the doorway, sunlight catching the silver in her hair. On Emily's bed upstairs, the lavender cotton frock lay draped over a chair, not hidden, not crumpled. Just waiting. Clean. Ready for whatever came next. The London morning hummed with buses and distant sirens. Emily took a deep breath of rain-washed air, tasting only the city, only hope. No smoke. No lies. Just the quiet certainty that some bonds, once broken, could still be mended, one honest breath at a time.